historians, when they look at military events and two people are in conflict, they look at like what are the war aims of the two parties involved. So like when you guys are going to January 6th there, what would you say like your war aims are? Like if you are there, like what are the goals that you're hoping to accomplish? What at the end of the day, what is something that you could say like this was a success or we got what we wanted? What does that look like?
We wanted our voices heard.
Okay, just heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For what? To do so they heard it and now what?
So
they have the chance to respond as adults when they hear what we have to say.
Mm-hmm.
But when they close off their ears and don't listen to us, they're not doing their job, number one. And number two, that means that no one else gets to be a part of the conversation but them. And we're important too. So.
Do you think you were heard?
Oh, yeah.
So
by the world.
So just to extrapolate kind of logically here, you think it was a success?
Entirely.
You got what you wanted?
I wouldn't say that.
What could have been done better to
I would
make
like
a
some
success?
restitution. That's what I would like.
Okay.
That's pretty much everything I'd want. At least my money back.
Right. But if you got your money back, though, you would say, like, oh, the result of the election, Biden serving 4 years office, all that going the way they went, you're good with that?
Biden serving?
Well, I mean, just to, like, maybe connect some dots for people who might not be familiar, right? Like, you guys are there on a very, like, specific day. It's the day when they are certifying the vote and essentially, locking Joe Biden in as president. That's why it's a big deal. So most people in January 6th that I talk to who are fans of that event, their aims are they wanted to change the outcome of the election. Like they thought the outcome they were given was incorrect and they wanted to change it. Does that resonate with you at all, or was your experience different?
I think that is a voice that needed to be heard that day.
What particularly?
The ones that wanted to overturn the election. There was many grievances there, and we're supposed to be able to address them with our government. So, especially when it comes to a fraudulent election, if there was one. And I am still not convinced that, something super nefarious happened, but there's been more evidence from, like, the FBI, like, Kash Patel released evidence that the Chinese Communist Party may have been involved with some of the infiltration, and
when you say infiltration, do you mean like is there a specific state that you think they infiltrated? Or?
I think that there was swing states that they probably focused more energy on.
So, like, my understanding of the electoral process is that states kind of run their own elections, right? So when you're like, when they're there on the 6th of January and they are there to certify the vote of the Electoral College, they are there to certify the votes that have been sent to them and certified by each individual of the 50 states.
Right.
So when you say like, hey, there was something fraud or the Communist Party's involved or something, I want to see specifics. Like, what state do you think was fraudulent, or what? What?
You'd have to go into more.
And do you not think
into the weeds with it?
Yeah. Do you not think there was any like attempt to legally navigate some of the stuff by the Trump campaign in each of those states before?
I think he
January
did.
6th?
I think he tried.
Yeah, and do you think he was
turn,
successful at all those?
No, I don't think he was.
So when you're not successful in court, and the states, like every 50 state is sending in their elected officials, are counting the votes and certifying their votes and sending their electoral college members to certify those votes on January 6th, like, do you think it's kind of like do you think you're obligated as a citizen to kind of respect the voices of the people who have sent those electoral votes in, I guess?
So judges are just people too.
Right.
And their voice matters as well, but not any more than mine.
Well,
or yours.
Technically speaking, in the court of law, their voice is worth a little bit more.
In the structured system we have, yeah, we end up listening to them and doing what they ask us to do.
Okay.
But I don't necessarily value a judge's opinion over my own. I don't really care what they think.
But it has a lot more weight to the whole world, right?
To the world.
And when, like 60 judges all make a unanimous decision on 60 different individual cases.
How many of those judges were involved with George Soros?
I think 34 to 38 of them are appointed by Trump himself.
Yeah. That may have been... You got all the facts,
well,
there.
yeah, I think it's
But it doesn't necessarily
Yeah.
mean just because Trump put them in charge that they were any good at their job.
yeah,
There's
maybe.
a lot of people that were put in charge that did horrible, horrible things to us.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Like even Anthony Fauci.
right. Well, I mean, I think like you
Now
can.
he sits in disgrace.
Quick pause. If you stop, like this video, subscribe to this channel, that means my channel is going to grow, which means I can keep doing this. It is the #1 thing that you can do to support me. Please take a second, like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and enjoy the rest of the clip.
You could probably play what if games about every hypothetical, but at the end of the day, I think we have a legal system in this country. Laws that we agree to follow, put forward by people that we elect to certain positions, and even judges in a lot of cases are people that we elect to certain positions, or they're appointed by people that we elect. So to me, when you say your voices are heard or something like this, or we're talking about the democratic process, I think I would like to see a reason why that's not the democratic process at work. A judge who's appointed or elected by another elected official who's certifying an election that was counted by people who were elected, that was certified by a governor that's elected, or certified by committees in the states that are elected, and they're making these certifications, they're making these judgments, they're sending their votes to Congress. I'm interested, like, kind of in your view of, like, when you're there on January 6th trying to override all of those elected voices, you're trying to stand in the way of that entire process. Do you think do you ever discount maybe the voices of everyone else?
Not necessarily. If I was standing in the way, I would have opened fire. That's what standing in the way means to me.
Okay. You have to unpack that one for me.
I would be making sure that building was secure.
Okay.
And I would take it over if I was trying. There would be lots more dead. That's what
So what were you trying
overthrowing
to
an
do?
election.
Were you trying to get in?
Right, but we're not shooting people. They shot at us.
What were you trying to do?
Well,
You said you wanted your voices heard.
that was one of the things, and then having my grievances heard was the huge meat of the pie. And those two things, protecting freedom and our freedom of speech, is more important to me than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Our freedom of speech is not guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
And when the FBI goes out of their way to censor us online, either indirectly or directly, I don't give a shit.
But
That kind of
the
behavior is
actions
gone.
that day, right? Like they don't
They don't do that anymore.
Well, just a point of fact, too, just to put everything in perspective, this is the FBI that is being led by a nominee of Donald Trump at that time, under Donald Trump's federal government. Just to put that in perspective as we move forward in the conversation. Yeah.
You're right.
I don't know. Do you have something?
No, yeah. So I'm not quite correlating.
Trump has a very bad reputation of having a very poor vetting process.
Yeah.
And I will give you that 110%. He needs to do a lot more to make sure that people are properly vetted, because there is so much bullshit that gets through.
So, like, something that's interesting to me, there's like a British political commentator that I listen to. He has this really interesting saying where he
doesn't listen to.
No, I do. God,
You got him.
he's the LBC guy. I can't remember his name. James O'Brien is his name. But he talks about this with Brexit a lot, where he has like a contempt for the con men, but sympathy for the conned in that instance. So that's kind of an interesting approach where I kind of look at January 6th, because something that's interesting to me is I feel like most people who are motivated enough to go to the Capitol building, fly from hundreds or 1,000 miles away to come to the Capitol building to protest. I mean, even if it was just protesting, but to come listen to a speech and protest over, that kind of process, I think it's probably safe to say that a lot of them are thoroughly convinced in this instance that, like, the election wasn't legitimate, or there was some kind of fraud that had happened.
Yeah.
This is always an interesting thing for me, because, like, when I look at why they think this, or why, the things they cite or the things that motivate them, so much of it comes back to the actions and the behavior of President Trump in the months and weeks leading up to that event.
I'd say that he's at the time he was probably 40% ego.
Yeah.
And like 60% in the right path.
Yeah.
And I'd say like maybe he's 35%.
I think a lot of
now.
I think a lot of people like give him a lot of credibility when they look at the claims he was making about something like election fraud or mail-in ballots. But
yeah,
I always find that very interesting, because when I look at this person's personal history, I see just a complete habit or history of just fraudulently claiming that every election that's in question for him is being rigged or illegitimate. In 2016, I will never forget, one of the reasons that I did not vote for him in the 2016 election was he lost the Iowa caucus to Ted Cruz in one of the first, and he accused Ted Cruz of rigging the Iowa caucus in 2016.
Ted Cruz is a dirtbag.
He accused him of rigging it with no evidence. And then it got even worse as the kind of primary system was playing out. He accused the RNC bosses of kind of rigging the superdelegates against him and how that entire process was going to work. He thought that was just, went on a whole rant on national news multiple times, claiming that process was going to be rigged. In the 2016 election, even, he made several claims that there was going to be mail-in voter fraud there, and there was going to be tons of fraud, and it was going to be an illegitimate election then as well. Obviously, he won that.
He was very convinced
No,
of the
he was
election
actually
fraud.
insanely convinced. Something that's really interesting.
And that's part of the pie too. But
well, so
if
something that's fascinating to me. Yeah, he even in his first term as president, in 2017, after he was elected, he even put together a presidential advisory commission on election integrity. He referred to it as the Voter Fraud Commission, and it requested a ton of invasive state voter information and stuff like this. Ended up finding nothing. They ended up getting sued by several states for illegally trying to acquire information, and then he just disbanded the organization. They never found any evidence of voter fraud. It seems like all those claims he made in 2016 about how it was going to be rigged, he could never find any evidence of backing that up. And then it's this comes into the 2020 election, where once again, I'm being fed the story by a guy who for months is telling me that voter fraud in the mail-in ballots is going to be rigged. You shouldn't even vote by mail. It's going to be rigged. He comes out on the night of the election when we know those votes are not even being counted yet, declares himself the winner on the night of the election, and is got all of these cock and bull stories about voter fraud that there's never any evidence for.
Let me explain
does that
something to you
history
real
ever
quick.
get to you? Do you ever look at the history of that person and think,
Let me
man,
explain.
maybe this is someone who's not trustworthy in these kinds of events?
So that's why January 6th wasn't just about Donald Trump.
Okay.
And that's why I tried to bring that in the beginning, because I knew that something like this was going to come up.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about him.
Okay.
And, he was there. He led a movement. He told the people to go there.
But the movement, and I'm sorry to interrupt, the movement that he was pushing.
You're right.
And half the stuff he's saying, I know what he was talking about, and half the stuff you're saying, I'm just, okay. But his movement, when he's there, it had nothing to do with all your frustrations of COVID and the lockdowns.
It had to do with everybody's frustrations.
Yeah, but President Trump's in that day was about the stolen election.
He embodies our frustrations.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you have to understand.
I agree with that.
To hone in on this for a second, though, when you say it's not about Donald Trump or not about the election, maybe that specific election, maybe let's say, you're not there on January 2nd or on February 3rd. You're there on January 6th. That is a specific day. That's a very important day. That is the day where Congress is certifying the election. That he hosts this event in an attempt to stop Congress from certifying the Electoral College votes that each of the 50 states have sent into Congress.
It was about
that you're there for that day.
but
That's for him. That's not for the election.
It wasn't just that.
Okay.
People aren't cookie cutter.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
It's not like that at all.
But isn't that why Trump had people there on that day?
Sure.
That's why you're there that day, though, right? You're not there on the 7th.
It's not like he invited us to have tea there.
Yeah, but you're not there on the 7th or the 8th. You're there on the 6th.
Yeah, but Justin, I don't think that point is actually too relevant. He did say President Trump led the movement, and this was the day he called people there. Okay. I agree, though, that I think that President Trump's his mission may have been different than a lot of the people's. I understand what you're saying there.
Yeah.
But I also don't think that you can say, well, why didn't you go on the 6th, 7th, or 8th? Well, they're on the 6th because that's when
I'm just pointing. Yeah. Well, then their leader is doing that for a very specific reason, and you're there for the leader, right? You're there for that guy. I think, I respect your perspective, and I've learned a lot listening to you. But I think maybe not for you specifically, but I think for a lot of people, they're there for Trump. I mean, even when we opened this conversation, one of the first things you said was, I was there to support the president.
Yes.
It's about Trump then, right?
Not just about Trump, though.
But let's hit that point of you're there to support the president.
Absolutely.
You're there to support the president doing what?
To exactly what you said. Send the vote back to the states, challenge the election, all that stuff.
So it was challenge the election. You were there to support the president challenging the election.
It's not just that, though.
Right.
It's,
but that was a huge part of why you went.
Yes, of course.
Right, yeah.
You're asking what's the point of the question? Of course I'm there for that.
Yeah. So, Justin, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I'm indifferent. I have no idea what happened in the 2020 election. I have no idea.
Most people don't. 99%
I
of
hear what
people
you're saying.
are right in your
I hear
spot.
the energy behind what you're saying. I understand what brought you there that day.
Yeah.
Justin, do you think that, Luke's mom, they went to this event to support the president pushing further legal action or whatever that might be to bring them back to the States. Can you sympathize or can you understand why they were there?
I led with that like philosophy from James O'Brien. He deals with this in the context of Brexit because he's a very anti-Brexit person, and he was obviously disappointed how that vote turned out then. But it's the same thing here, where it is contempt for the con men, sympathy for the conned in that instance. And I think it is a tragedy, a criminal tragedy in my opinion, that the leaders, people in leadership Republican positions, including the president of the United States, people who you should be able to trust, people who, when they tell you there's voter fraud, you should be able to think there's a legitimate reason for that, blatantly lied. And they've historically lied multiple times. And I think the first time they've done this multiple times, and they accumulated this entire event to happen specifically on the 6th of January, because it's one of many tools that they were using to throw out slates of electoral college votes and make Trump the president again. There's an entire backstory that's happening with John Eastman and his lawyer. There's a bunch of things that are in play where they are legitimately trying to make an attempt to throw out electoral college votes, and they're trying to pressure Congress and pressure Mike Pence, and the crowds of January 6th are one of the many tools they're using to make that pressure. And so, yeah, when I see people like Luke or his mom, even if he doesn't agree with me or acknowledge this, I think most of those people are just fed a line of bullshit about tons of voter fraud that didn't happen, a legitimate election that wasn't real, and they're just there. And if you do believe it, of course you should be there. If you think the election is actually being stolen, I salute you for trying to be there. But you, unfortunately, those people lied to you and manipulated you, in my opinion, to get there. And that's where the facts and the details matter.
Outside of President Trump and his team around him. And so many conservative podcasters and voices pointing out the, in Luke's words, irregularities, right?
Mm-hmm. So many of them have changed their opinions 180, by the way. Most of them condemned January 6th outrightly, and now that they've had 4 years to rewrite history, they've completely changed their tune.
I'm not
their audience captured for me.
At January 6th. I'm talking about everything between November 5th and January 6th.
That's the best way to look at it.
Right.
It even happens before that, actually. Trump in May of 2023, or 2024 rather, when COVID is breaking out, is talking about how the Democrats are going to try to use mail-in ballots.
Right.
He's trying to defund the post office in the summer.
Worried.
He tried to defund the post office in the summer of that year because he wanted to make it harder for people to mail and vote. He actually tried by executive order to defund the United States Postal Service.
So hold on real quick.
Yeah, all good.
So outside of the president's voices and the right-wing conservative voices influencing people saying this election was stolen.
Yeah.
Can you relate or understand the people who might have just felt it because of the things that they've seen, because of the irregularities, such as
maybe a few
absolutely
post office trucks in the ditch somewhere with, in a community that was a little high on the Republican side.
All of those cases have been poured through meticulously. And the crazy thing is, Donald Trump was personally informed by all of the investigators in every one of those cases that all of the stuff he was talking about was completely wrong, and he would just go the next day and repeat the lie anyways. To your question, can I feel sympathy for those people who are outside of the leadership or outside of the conservative voices, people who just actually think a legitimate problem is going on? Dude, most of my family is that person. A lot of my coworkers are those people. He's that person. He seems like a nice guy, a good guy. Most people do. Most people are good, reasonable people, and they should be able to believe leadership when they're claiming that there's big things like this. But unfortunately, this was not the case, unfortunately. So yeah, I absolutely do have sympathy and try to understand their kind of perspective. That's why I'm very grateful to be here and have the opportunity to listen to your story. I learned a lot. I think it's a fantastic perspective. I love learning the history of these kind of different events, even ones that I think ended up being horrible or terrible or I judge negatively. But yeah, absolutely, I do sympathize with those people. So,
what are some of the good? Luke, do you have some in response?
Well, the initial perspective that we're all just pawns, and he's, the king, and he's playing us like like we're throwaway, is one of the most disgusting ways that you can view us. And I'm going to call it as it is. Like, we're not all there for the same reason. We're not all there and with importance towards what he says and everything. And honestly, like, I didn't even hear most of his speech because I was trying to keep my mom safe.
Yeah.
Which was like, I ended up listening to it later, and it was great. It was fine. And I do think still that Pence is a coward, and
let's touch on that real quick. Justin, do you think Pence is a coward?
No, I mean, I kind of detest Pence on a policy standpoint on a lot of issues, but I actually think he is definitionally an American hero to some extent. I think he had every incentive imaginable to commit a terrible action on January. That would have
he did.
That probably would have escalated things to. Obviously, I'm taking the other perspective on this, but he is very outright where he is saying the president and his lawyers are repeatedly asking him in the weeks leading up to this and on the day of to throw out votes of the Electoral College. That was the plan that John Eastman had planned out. They were trying to get him to throw out certified Electoral College votes and accept. Not only were they trying to get them to throw out, they had sent in 7 different states. They had sent in teams of people to fake Electoral College votes, and they were trying to get Mike Pence to accept those fake uncertified slates of electors and make Trump the president. It's wild.
Luke, why is he a coward? Why is Mike Pence a coward?
When you say you're going to do something and you don't follow through and do it,
he never said he would do it. He said from day one that I don't have the right to do this. This is illegal, and I'm not doing it.
I don't remember that.
There's text messages that they have. The January 6th committee was the release where they showed the text messages exchanges he had with Mark Meadows, with Donald Trump, several different exchanges, and yeah, he put out social media posts as well in the weeks leading up to it.
Good for him to sticking to his guns. Okay. I'll give him that much. But it certainly caused a lot of pain, didn't it? Look at his decision. Look what it did.
Yeah,
please hold, Justin. Go ahead.
Look what it did. Look how much it ruined. Look what happened in Afghanistan. Look what happened in the rest of the world.
Wait. My response to that real quick. So
that's what happens when a coward does.
So what you're saying is if he made a different decision that day, President Trump would have been president during those 4 years.
There would be a lot less dead people, too.
Would President Trump have been president for those 4 years if he made a different decision?
I believe so.
Not even, so you brought up those other conservative leaders or your podcasters or whatever, or even a lot of them lawyers. Most of them completely disagree with that assessment. They say, in fact, they try to downplay the events of January 6th, saying that even if Mike Pence had done this horrible thing of throwing out the votes, that it would have gone to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court would have made it right and ruled it out, because what he was doing was absolutely, or what he was asked to do was absolutely illegal. And so it would have just escalated things in the moment, and things would have gotten even more violent across probably many states as well. And then the Supreme Court would have just ruled anyways.
Luke, what did you, whatever it might be, what did you want, what did you hope that Mike Pence did that day? What particularly?
The right thing.
Can you be specific?
What is it?
To do what President Trump said to do.
What was he asking? Yeah.
To send the votes back to the states.
And then for the states to do what with that?
To recertify the election.
Okay, so I have to jump in here. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, buddy.
No, all good.
And just so you know, I still love you.
I love you
still
too.
respect you.
To be fair, I think you're a very nice guy.
I don't
kind of
care how heated. I don't care how heated this gets. It's all politics at the end of the day.
Yeah. So you should read Donald Trump's lawyers' memos about this when they laid out their plans. The plan was not to have the votes going back to be recertified is silly. That's kind of jargon that doesn't mean they're already certified. The states have already certified those electoral votes. There's no recertification process. That's literally not even heard of. But if you read the Eastman memo, where he's the memos that he's sending out to his attorneys.
I don't know a whole lot about
Yeah, you should Google John Eastman. Most people don't. John Eastman is one of 2 people who are in Trump's war room on January 6th. Him and Mark Meadows are both in a room personally with Donald Trump. John Eastman is his lawyer. They've erected this plan where Mike Pence is. They need to create in 7 different states. They need to send alternative slates of electors. The way the electoral process works in the United States, my voice is getting kind of dry here, is that states certify electoral college votes. They're sent in, and Congress counts them. And Congress, when they, on January 6th, they're acknowledging that, hey, these are the votes that the state specifically sent to us, and we're going to count those and certify the election. Trump sends in fake teams of people in Michigan here. They tried to hide under the Capitol building for a weekend. In Pennsylvania, in Nevada, in New Mexico. They sent fake people to knowingly perjure themselves and lie about saying, hey, we're actually the electoral votes that were certified by the state. They weren't. And we're going to send these votes in, knowing that it was false, but just giving Pence some kind of excuse to throw out the ones he didn't like and make Trump the president. That was the plan. That's what they tried to do. Ronna McDaniel, the head of the RNC, orchestrated this with Ken Cheesebro. Here in the state of Michigan, they have to vote on a Tuesday, either a Monday or Tuesday, when they send their electoral votes in the end of December. They send a team of 7 people. Half of them bailed out, but they sent a team of people to hide in the state Capitol building through the weekend on that Friday night, so they could because in Michigan the law is the votes have to be sent from the state Capitol building, and they knew that the state police would not let them in on that Tuesday.
That.
Yeah, it's crazy. Nobody knows about it. Imagine
know.
my personal hell when nobody knows any of the stuff. Very, very disappointing. But yeah, so
Luke, do you think that Mike Pence thinks what he did is wrong?
No.
Okay, well,
No,
there you
he
go.
doesn't.
So, like you said earlier, right? Like, you think maybe some of the things that happened in the Capitol weren't right, but you believe in your heart you did the right thing. So you had, so you're not a coward for being in that Capitol.
Can
Even
you
if it was
tell me that he knew what it was in his heart to do as the right thing?
He swore an oath over the Bible that he would defend and protect the Constitution, and I believe. I don't know what the right thing to do is that day, okay? I think I have an idea of what I think it is. I don't have the answer, okay? Right? There could be things that I never heard about that gives the right answer in different legal ways that I don't know about. But I don't know Mike Pence. I just see what I see and hear what I hear. I believe Mike did what he thought was the right thing to do. I could be way wrong about that. He could have been paid $10 billion to do what he did.
If that's true, then every man must do what's in his heart.
So if Mike truly did what he thought was best to protect and defend the Constitution, like the oath he gave, you might take back your statement and say, if that's the case, he's not a coward. But you don't believe that.
I still think that his decision
was
wrong. But every person still needs to do that.
Sure. What if the roles were reversed? What if Kamala Harris was asked to reject and keep?
Yeah.
What if the Democrats had sent fake members to impersonate being members of the Electoral College, to send in fake Electoral College votes, and then Kamala Harris then threw out the ones that were certified by the state and used the uncertified ones to count and make Joe Biden president again, or herself president?
I'm not even sure if any of that is all true, but
yeah,
right.
Just to entertain me, hypothetically, if it was true and hypothetical, would you think that would be terrible?
They would definitely get in trouble for it.
And you would be against that, to be clear.
Well, if there's a lot of things that are wrong to do in this
Seems
world.
like a cop-out, though. The specific question that I asked you, as far as like if Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party orchestrated,
it's wrong.
So it would be wrong,
right?
Yeah, I just wanted you to say that. I didn't hear you say that. You just like.
But if it's right, you're like, oh well, if it's from my side, then it's okay.
Right.
To be fair,
that's not what I'm
if they
here
did that,
for.
I would be appalled.
Yeah.
If they, as a Democrat, current Democrat, if they did that, I would be absolutely appalled.
I think he tried to do everything he could. And
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Donald Trump, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I both extra legally and illegally. I completely agree. But yeah, that's
and illegally, right?
Correct. To be fair, you win. I mean, you guys won the thing. Nobody knows any of the details that I'm talking about, and most people, I think, sympathize with you guys now. So I think you guys win the day on that event. Nobody cares about the facts or the reality situation anymore. So, and he got away with it. He got reelected, and he's pardoned everyone involved. So I mean, listen, you feel free to do the victory lap, man. You guys win. I concede.
History is written by the winners, right?
You guys are the winners.
Right.
You got it.
Thank you so much for listening to this clip of the Here's What Happened podcast. Make sure you slide over to the Here's What Happened podcast YouTube channel to listen to the full episode. While you're at it, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Thank you for listening.